All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our opening office hours for January of 2018. Unfortunately, it says 2017 there. I apologize for everyone there on the call. But for the purpose of this office hours, to start off the year, what we're looking to do is give an overview of our overarching goals and objectives for what we have in store for 2018. And of course, to start off our call this morning. We just want to make sure if you want to type in the chat box who's in the call today, your name for your facility, and what your role is as well. And if you could please take a moment as well to make sure you mute your phone to eliminate any sort of background noise, to make sure our recording is as proper as possible. And if you've dialed in, please make sure you don't also put us on hold. Don't want to make sure we have any background music as well. Also, towards the end of the presentation, we like to encourage some open discussion, questions, anything you have throughout the whole presentation that comes through to your mind. Feel free to put that in the chat box. And we'll move on to project updates, and I believe we'll have Kate Carpenter here from IHC as well. Take the floor.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Good morning, everybody. This is Kate from the HIN team. I'm going to start us off with a project update for kind of what we have going on programmatically through the first part of 2018. As you know, our team has moved from the traditional communities of practice we've used over the course of 2017 to a project-based focus. So we've given you some of the education and resources that you need for the HIN focus areas, and now we're going to move to an execution strategy, actually doing the work. For the first part of 2018, we've got a couple different projects we'd like to highlight and overview and make sure you're aware of as we start our work this January. The first project is the Readmissions Refuel Project. This is a readmissions reduction project. As you can see on your screen, we currently have 32 of the Compass HIN hospitals enrolled in the project, pretty evenly distributed throughout our state. So thanks to those of you who have stepped up and enrolled in this work. In your chat, if your hospital is participating in refuel, would you put a yes into the chat? We'd like to identify if there's any of you with us today. Thanks. Very good, a couple of you, that's great. So we're pretty excited as this project has launched. It launched on January 10th with a kickoff webinar. This work is divided into 3 phases over the course of the next 6 months. If you're looking at this flyer and you think, gosh, we'd like some more information on that, or we may have missed this, reach out to myself and we'll get you more information and plugged in. The next project that we have going on in the HIN is the Opioid Guardianship Take 2 project. As you know, last year we ran the first Opioid Guardianship project. It ran for 3 or 4 months with several hospitals from around the state and was very successful. We got several requests to run it again with a few new enhancements. So again, you can see on this slide the map of who has enrolled in this project to date. They just kicked off with their first webinar last week. You can see on your right that program flyer. They have a few different, 5 I believe, different webinars taking place over the course of the next 6 months. Last week they focused on legality around opioid practices, and they have an upcoming webinar at the end of the month regarding the PMP. All of the webinars and different events that we have for this project are posted and available through the Events tab on Hinnovation. So if you're looking to get registered or involved in some of these educational offerings, we encourage you to look there or reach out to your improvement advisor if you need help doing so. There are a couple enhancements, as I mentioned, to this project as they do the second cohort. They're doing bi-weekly meetings to discuss the project, basically. So you can log on to a WebEx brief meeting where they can discuss kind of things that they're working on for the month, and participants can ask questions that maybe have come up in the previous webinar or work that their team is currently working on, upcoming meetings, etc. Jennifer Kriegmer is the project lead for this, and she's also facilitating a Tip Thursday on innovation. This is where she kind of posts a question or a topic and kind of leads a thread, and we certainly would encourage, if you're participating in that project or maybe just watching or have something to contribute, that you engage in conversation around these threads so that we can collaborate on this work. As I mentioned, they have an upcoming webinar at the end of the month, January 31st. It's an hour and a half long from 11 to 12:30. The why and how of the prescription monitoring program. You can see listed on the slides. I won't read them aloud to you, but a lot of really great content. This was one of the highlights and most downloaded webinar of the first cohort. Really great information for your providers. Again, we'll make sure that this is recorded and transcribed and that webinars are posted to Innovation. We also have some upcoming events this year that we'd like to make sure that you have information on and mark your calendar for. The first of those is the Antimicrobial Stewardship Summit, and I'll pass it over to Erin to give you a few of those highlights.
Good morning, everyone. As Kate mentioned, my name is Erin Philmeyer. If you have seen me in the past few months, you have heard me talk about this Antimicrobial Stewardship Summit. I'm excited to say we have a date. It is April 17th of 2018. This summit is a collaboration between the Iowa Hospital Association, Iowa Department of Public Health, the Iowa Pharmacy Association, and the Iowa Healthcare Collaborative. There will be 3 tracks dedicated to C-suite, quality, IP, and nursing, and then pharmacy and provider. Sessions will include state and national overview. That state overview will be completed by Nancy Wild. There will be data and physician and CEO engagement and more. This summit is free for all attendees. That includes lunch, and there will also be a travel stipend available. We will provide mileage for 1 vehicle from each Compass HIN hospital. Additionally, all of these sessions are going to be recorded and live streamed as well, and you will be able to receive CEU credit for any of the 3 ways that you view it, as long as the recorded or live streamed are proctored. And we will kick off at the end of this Stewardship Summit, we will kick off the Antimicrobial Stewardship Project. So similar to the Opioid Guardianship Project and the Refuel Readmissions, we'll be focusing in the last half of the year on antimicrobial stewardship projects, and you will hear more about that at the end of the summit. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to contact me. And then we're moving on to HAI monthly calls. Moving forward, we will be continuing this call as a request from those who were participating in this call monthly. What we will be changing is the focus areas. We want everybody who is joining these calls to please send us the topics that you really feel are important to your facility, and we're going to kind of sift through those and make sure that the education you're getting is the education that you're wanting. The calls will remain on the first Tuesday of each month, and we will resume these in March. Once again, we really want to focus on providing education that is most beneficial to you and your facilities. So looking forward to starting that in March. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Stacy Klinker, and she's going to give an update on Candor.
Thank you, Erin. As Erin said, my name is Stacy Klinker, and I am the project manager here at IHC for the HIN team. I have a couple exciting things to talk about with you today. The first is in 2018, we'll be starting our first cohort of hospitals to implement the Candor process. We're working very closely with the Iowa Medical Society and MedStar to provide training and technical assistance to those participating hospitals. We discussed briefly on the virtual learning event in December about the Candor process, but I want to give a brief overview today as well. The Candor process is an early disclosure process for when an adverse event occurs during the course of patient care. It has several different elements, really emphasizing early and frequent communication with patients and their families, which is a departure from the culture of deny and defend that has been prevalent in the past. This early and open communication really helps to maintain relationships with patients after an event occurs, as well as preventing feelings with patients and family members that maybe the hospital is hiding things from them or not being completely honest. Another major element of the Candor process is care for the caregiver. And this is really crucial because not only are these events stressful for patients and family members, but they're also stressful for healthcare providers involved. The Candor process really ensures that those providers have the support they need and that they're cared for through this process as well. Probably one of the biggest elements of this process is creating a non-punitive learning culture in the facility. You know, it's not enough to apologize and have these conversations with these patients, but they really want to know what is being done, what processes are being looked at or put into place to ensure that these types of errors never occur again. The other shift that comes along with that is moving from blaming specific providers for the errors that occur and rather looking at the structure or the systems that are in place that allowed those errors to reach the patient in the first place, and really reevaluating how those things are done. So with that, we're looking for hospitals that would be interested in implementing the Candor process at their facility. We're going to be working very closely with each participating facility. We'll be doing gap analysis and working to engage leadership in preparation for the implementation. We will also have Candor experts from MedStar conducting workshops to help the facilities better understand the different aspects of the process, as well as providing technical assistance whenever needed throughout the cohort. So if you are interested, please reach out to me as soon as possible, and I can get you added to our list. I will make my contact information available, and I can post it on Innovation as well. Another thing I want to touch on just briefly, we really looked at person and family engagement in depth in 2007. And in the 6 months that we began looking at this in 2007, Compass HIN hospitals did an amazing job improving their performance with person and family engagement. We had really, really big jumps. You can see for PFE metric 3, we've almost doubled the number of hospitals checking yes, as well as metric 5. And so we want to continue this effort moving forward into 2017. When we started, Compass HIN was in the bottom third of HINs reporting this data. Now, looking at the data, the most current data we have, we are first or second in several of these categories. So we want to make sure that we don't lose momentum moving forward. We are going to be looking at ways to move this past just checking yes on a box and rather ingraining person and family engagement in the entire culture of healthcare. So be sure to continue checking Innovation. I will be posting resources for things like templates for discharge planning checklists or resources on how to engage patients or form patient and family advisory councils, things of that nature. And as always, if you have questions anytime throughout the year, please feel free to contact me or your improvement advisor. We're always here to answer questions for you. And the last one that I have to talk about today is our project around diagnostic error. Diagnostic error is a subset of medical errors that's largely unaddressed. It's somewhat difficult to measure, and a lot of our information is retroactive. So IHC has begun developing a change package around diagnostic error reduction specific to the laboratory setting, regarding tests being ordered or the relay of lab results, things along those lines. We're in the process currently of conducting interviews with subject matter experts in the field, as well as high-performing hospitals in this arena, such as Kaiser Permanente, MedStar, Vanderbilt, and many others. So we will begin the compilation of that. It will go through a vetting process, and the change package will be complete by the end of September of this year for dissemination. So again, please be sure to check Innovation regularly. We'll be providing updates on the progress as we go along. And with that, I will turn things back over to Kate.
Thanks, Stacy, for those updates. The next thing that we have here is wanting to provide you all with a little update on where we are with data and reporting and some important reminders. As the year has come to a close, our improvement advisor team has really been digging into the database and making sure that your data is complete and without error. So you may be receiving emails from your improvement advisor if we find that data points are missing, or maybe have a error in the data. November, of course, was due on January 15th. So if you haven't reported on November, if you could try and get that data entered as soon as possible, or if you're having a delay, just communicate that with your improvement advisor so we can check into that when it becomes available. You may have noticed in the database that some new changes have been made this year. Probably the one that you see the most is the addition of a notes section. If you've noticed the new note section in the reporting database, put a number 1 into the chat. This is where you're used to seeing interventions for the month. Thanks, Michelle. So as you log into an open month of reporting, you're used to seeing where you can enter in the numerator and denominator, and then there's an open text field for intervention for the month. Now, directly below that, you'll see a notes section. So interventions for the month might be that you've implemented a new process, or a check sheet, a new document, something like that. That's truly an intervention for that measure. And notes might be waiting on the report from pharmacy. As you're entering in data, maybe you can enter in 90% of your data for November, but pharmacy on a certain measure or two takes a little bit longer to get that to you. The notes section is a good place for you to communicate that type of information with us. Maybe you're working on building a new report. Maybe you know, you've decided to sample differently on a measure in 2018. Things that you can note in that area. It might be notes for your team if a couple different members of your organization share the HIN reporting responsibility. Maybe you're going to use that note section to communicate a little bit with each other. So we want to make you aware, if you haven't already seen that new text box is up and running. If you have any specific questions, you can type those into the chat and we'll address them, or certainly reach out to your improvement advisors. Couple save the dates for 2018. Believe it or not, we already have the next HIN virtual learning community coming up next month on February 27th. This will be half a day as normal. Usually we'll begin at 9 o'clock, and you'll be seeing a program brochure here in the next 30 days for that, so you can register for the link. Also, Patient Safety Conference is scheduled March 17th, and the HIN in-person learning community forecasted a little bit further out, the beginning of summer on May 8th. Okay, so as we come to a close, go ahead and start typing in any questions or comments you might have for the HIN team. We've resumed office hours for 2018. However, next month, as we just discussed, the upcoming virtual HIN learning community falls at the end of February. So we won't have an office hours due to those conflicting events, but we'll resume again March 24th with some new content. If you have suggestions for content for upcoming office hours, please do type those into the chat or email our HIN team. We really want the education to be meaningful for your hospital, so if there's items that would be of value to you, please let us know. If you haven't already, or if you have new members of your team in 2018, we would encourage you to have those folks join Hinnovation so that they can have access to some of the different resources and free educational events we have listed on the site. If you need help doing that or sending screenshot instructions that you can send out to your team, let us know. We'd be happy to help them individually or come on site and help get newer team members enrolled. Along that line, if you haven't already had an opportunity within the HIN reporting database, the new year is a really good chance to go in and update your HIN work plan. Make sure that it reflects maybe new members that you have on your team, new champions for different focus areas, and that you've listed maybe your new goals for the year and timelines. Okay, at this point, we'd like to open it up for questions. I'm going to pause for just a moment and ask that you take a quick glance down at your phone and your computer audio and make sure that you are unmuted. We're going to unmute the lines at this time and open it up for questions.
Because my other worry is too is that they're going to just quick run back to the OR.
Anybody have any questions for any members of the Compass HIN team? Okay, I don't see any additional questions listed in the chat. I do want to thank you all for joining us and encourage you once again, if there's any topics that you'd like to see us promote education on during these office hours calls as we schedule out content for the course of the year, please do let our team know or your improvement advisor know so we can make sure we're using this time to meet your needs. We hope that you all have a really great week and a great year. Thanks for joining.